this video because for the past few weeks I have been missing out on a lot of things, but before starting off by talking about the songs that have been released, I just want to say rest in peace Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, who had inspired a lot of soul musicians nowadays and who had been one of the biggest soul musicians back in the days. But anyway, let's get into the songs itself. Let's start off by the songs that I don't think are that great or that bad. They're just kind of meh. Let's start off with Anna Calvi with Hunter, which is essentially the title track for her album, for her latest album, and it is this very spacey and raw and sensual kind of ballad. Not really ballad, not necessarily ballad, but kind of song. And it's a little forgettable and not as hard-hitting as the other single that she released before this. Anyway, next up we have Death Cab for Cutie with Autumn Love. Unlike their last single, which sucks a lot, the vocals on this track is a little better and the instrumentals are more sweet and endearing. Anyway, next up we have DJ Durrell and Migos with Hot Summer, which is, just super generic, average, predictable Migos song. It's listenable, but it's still super generic. It's literally the same kind of song they released on Culture 2. And then we have FKI First, Good Gas, featuring 2 Chainz and A AP Ferg. Originally I was gonna really like the song, but the instrumental wise, nothing's really going on. 2 Chainz and A AP Ferg's performance are really good, but that's the only 2 good things about the song. Other than that, there's not much going on. Anyway, up next we have Freddie Gibbs with Burn Rubber. Freddie Gibbs has some really nice flow and some really nice lyrics on this track. And this song is low-key a banger, but, again, not that impressive of a song, not that innovative, so, I'm just gonna leave it at meh. And then up next, we have Future with Scam-A-Lot, and, apparently this track, instrumentally speaking, it's a little more interesting, and I like how, Future's, delivery here is a little bit more clear, and he's less mumble on this track, so there's that. And then we have Kanye West with XTCY, or Ecstasy, and this is the aftermath track, the post-Ye leftover track, sorta. And this track got super infamous because of one of the lines on this song saying that Kanye West wants to smash all 4 of his sisters-in-laws, like, the Kardashians and stuff, which is really weird, sorta, and a little awkward as well. And then he later goes on saying that, he had these thoughts when he was on ecstasy, and, it's not a bad song, but, if Kanye West really wrote this song while he was on ecstasy, maybe he should stay sober, Up next is an interesting one. KSI with On Point. This is probably the first YouTuber song that I've not put in the worst section. And, out of the blue, just completely out of the blue, KSI just dropped this track, this diss track to Logan Paul, of course. And, I feel like this is sort of like a response track because, last time KSI was, like, in a TV show or something, and he was gonna rap freestyle a little, but, it turned out really badly. So, I'm pretty sure this track is ghostwritten, but, ghostwritten or not, it's not a terrible track. Usually YouTuber diss tracks are around 0 out of 10 to 2 out of 10. This is a 5 out of 10, to be honest. The instrumentals are not that bad. KSI's performance is pretty fiery, and the music video is whack. and I just appreciate how much effort they put into making the music video. You know, the smashing plates, the tasing, you know, and they actually hired actors to play Logan Paul, his sidekick, and his dad, and you know, the blindfold girls is in the music video as well. And there are also you know, It references, The Shining references, Avengers references, and it's pretty impressive, not gonna lie. And I really hope that KSI wins. I really do. Next up, we have LSD with Thunder Clouds, which is very predictable pop track, really colorful, and really bright and blissful, but again, very predictable and kind of average when you compare to their two last singles, and it's kind of carried by this beach reggae rhythm that's pretty weak. And then up next we have Magda David with Milestones. Magda David, strangely, is the alias for Sinead O'Connor. And, you know, she's back, and she has this song, Milestones. Her vocals is great, but, you know, it's a pretty emotional song, but, there's not much in terms of, you know, modern music, you know. It's like one of those super wordy tracks about reflecting on your career. So there's that. Up next we have Metric, Dressed to Suppress, which is less edgier and less darker than their previous single, but it's not bad. Kind of like the performance on this track, and just keep it going. Alright. Up next we have Moors with Mango featuring Tune Yards. And Moors is basically the rap alias of Lakeith Stanfield. You may know him from Get Out, the guy who yells, "Get out!" And Atlanta as well. You know, the song is actually not terrible in my opinion. You know, his you know, the instrumentals are actually pretty intriguing. However, there's one big flaw on the song, and that is Lakeith's delivery. It's a little goofy, and the mixing is really off. It feels really cheap, so not that great after all. Up next we have Mustard, Dangerous World featuring Travis Scott and YG. Mustard, aka DJ Mustard, and this track here, it's not a terrible track again, but it's pretty average, and both Travis Scott and YG's performance on this track is not that great, so I'm just gonna leave it here. Up next we have Pig Destroyer with The Torture Fields. The band is back, and this track is very similar to the tracks that they had released in their past, and it's pretty sludgy, very loud, very choppy as well, and really energetic as well, but that's pretty much the extent of it, nothing that interesting. Up next we have Quavo's Bubblegum, Lamb Talk, and Workin' Me. And surprisingly, I didn't put these three tracks into the worst tracks section because I kind of like the sweet and luxurious and lavishing instrumentals of all three of the tracks, especially on Bubblegum. But again, still sounds really generic. Still sounds like any average Migos song ever, except this time Quavo's alone. And then up next we have Smoke Perp, Nephew featuring Lil Pump, which is pretty average track, not gonna lie. You know, it's sort of like a banger, to be honest, but again, bangers are simply bangers now. Like, there are so many bangers out there. Right now, I need a banger that's interesting, and not just purely a banger. And speaking of that, I also kind of want to put Gucci Mane's Kept Back featuring Lil Pump again on the meta section. And then we have Soap and Skin with Heal. Soap and Skin is an Austrian singer, And this song is really weird, really hard to get into, in my opinion. Not that it's bad, I really like the aesthetic, but it's just a very, it sounds like, her vocal sounds like it's being possessed. It's really weird. And then up next we have KK Meza with Flexin', Australian rapper. And this song, again, it's a banger, but that's pretty much the extent of it. And then up next we have Troye Sivan with Animal, which is a pretty moody, spacey, sort of alternative R&B track. Not that great, but it's not as cheap and as corny as his previous singles. That, I mean, my Bloom is actually not bad. And then at last we have YG with Handgun featuring A$AP Rocky. YG had just released his album, which is not that great, but this track is also not that great. It is kind of grimy, it's a little exciting, but it's also really predictable and really forgettable. Now let's talk about the worst tracks. DJ Khaled, No Brainer, featuring Justin Bieber, Chance the Rapper, and Quavo. This track is just obnoxious on like the first second, and it's your average novelty pop song with, you know, like appealing to the lowest common denominator and something like that. I believe I said it right. But this track is just generic, average, and very obnoxious, very cheap as well. It sounds like they wrote this song in like 10 minutes. And then we have J. Cole with the freestyle called the Album of the Year. At first it sounds kind of interesting, but then J. Cole starts to talk about how KOD is the Album of the Year, which is pretty narcissistic and really, really untrue. Anyway, we have Logic with One Day featuring Ryan Tedder, and it's supposed to be some sort of motivational song like, if you have a dream, go for it. Don't hesitate. And it sounds like one of those, late Eminem tracks. Those super trashy, cheesy-ass, half-assed Eminem tracks. Ugh, it's gross. Up next, we have Loren Gray with My Story. Her first song, I believe. So, Musically star Loren Gray releases a song, and, I respect her, okay? I respect her. With all due respect, I don't like the song, not really, because, even though it doesn't sound as terrible as I had imagined, it's still, it tries to be optimistic and dancey and happy and all that, but it just feels too much, And her vocals is it's trying so hard to sound like any other pop musician nowadays. So yeah, it's pretty average. And I kind of not want to talk about her too much because I feel like I'm giving credibility to her because she's not really a musician. So there's that. Up next is Matthew Deere with Bunny's Dream and Echo. Both tracks are really bland and they don't really do much in terms of musicality, especially the track Echo, which is a little more ambient, a little more drony. And then Nothing. We have Nothing with The Carpenter's Son, which actually sounds like nothing because it's so boring and tasteless and ambient-ish. But, if it's an ambient track, at least try to sound beautiful. This track is none. Just none. None, none. Up next we have Robin with Missing You, which is a cheesy, corny-ass, pop love song. Gross. And then we have Vic Mensa with Metaphysical. Vic Mensa had been having a really hard time lately, and when he released this track, it just feels like the wrong time. And, there's this African flavor to this track, which plays out really awkwardly. And, at first it sounds like it's going to be a banger, but then it just completely falls flat. And then at last we have Zayn with Too Much featuring Timbaland. You know, it's just this awkward, corny track trying to be cool, but it really isn't. Anyway, we have way more best tracks than bad tracks this month, so let's talk about them. Let's start off with the new Aphex Twin track, T69 Collapse. Aphex Twin is back. And this track is easily one of the best Aphex Twin tracks for a while. It's very fast, very mind-bending, very glitchy, very, you know, I don't even know how to describe it. Watch the music video. Don't watch it if you have epilepsy, because it's fucking insane. And you know, I really like the beat switches and the melody switches on this track as well. Anyway, up next we have Behemoth with God Equals Dog. Ouch. I'm not saying that I agree with the title or anything, but damn, this song is actually not bad, and it's really energetic. It's really raw and dirty and nasty and savagey as well, and yeah, it's not bad. Anyway, up next we have Blood Orange with Charcoal Baby, which is a really relaxing and soothing and a danceable little piece of ballad that I really dig because it's actually kind of catchy. And I never thought that Blood Orange would put out something this solid. Up next is a song that I'm kind of on the fence with, and that is Charlie XCX's Girls Night Out. I guess the reason why I put this track in the best song section is that I really like the whack and sassy instrumentals, and you know, it's very sugary yet so glitchy. It's very modern. So yeah, I kind of like the sassy delivery by Charlie XCX also. And then up next we have chvrches with Out of My Head featuring Wednesday Campanella. Surprisingly, this track is not bad. You know, and this is basically their attempt to, you know, kind of make J-pop and J-rock blending into, you know, just their own sound. And it's a pretty interesting mix, and it's pretty fun. And then up next we have Dorian Concept with Jay Byers, which is a very blissful and exciting and energetic electronic banger, jam, yeah. Up next we have DRAM with Best Hugs, which is a very catchy and very awesome and very animated ballad. And he's gonna release a new EP, a lot of good EPs lately. And then this one is a shocker, Future with Translator. I guess what really made this song that good is the instrumentals. It's very intriguing, very it sort of has this sugary flavor to it that I really dig, and it's just really catchy and on point. Yeah. Anyway, up next we have High on Fire's Electric Messiah, which is a very harsh and fun and maniacal sort of a metal track, sludge metal track, thrash metal track. And I've never expected this song to be this fun. I mean, the drum beats are very fast, they are very maniacal, and the performance overall is very awakening. Whoa, alright. Up next we have Horrendous with the Idolater, which is one of the weirder metal tracks, and one of the weirder metal tracks released lately. But it still sounds very intriguing, very weird, and the vocal performances are very intriguing because it sounds both human and insane at the same time. And the instrumentals are a little avant-garde flavored, so that's pretty interesting. And then we have Ken Mode with Not Soulmates, which is another metal track. And it's very savagey, very harsh and brutal, but again, very exciting, very energetic. Alright, up next we have Interpol with Number 10, yet another great Interpol track. And on this track, the vocals sounds a little more improved than the weird, shouty, yelpy vocals on the Rover, even though I still prefer the Rover over this track. But still, this track is really solid, it's really memorable, and the performance is great. Up next, we have Marissa and Nadler with Blue Vapor, which is a very haunting and in-your-face ballad. The chord progression is very deep and very chilling as well. Anyway, up next we have Mick Jenkins with Bruce Banner, which has a very solid instrumental, and the flow is very nice, very excellent, and the lyrics are also pretty well written. And then, this one is a good one. Moses Sumney with Rank and File. Amazing performance, amazing vocal performance. The instrumentals are also really clicky and clacky, which is a very stylish. And it kind of reminds me of Algiers for very good reasons. And then up next we have Neneh Cherry with Kong. You may know her from Kids with Guns by Gorillaz. And this track is it's a very nice, moody ballad by Neneh Cherry. And then we have, oh crap, and what's this track? Nigil Caenaan with January's End. Nigil Caenaan with January's End, which is an electronic track, basically. The percussion on this track is really well mixed. And I genuinely really enjoy the beat, and the whole aesthetic of the track kind of reminds me of Nicholas Jar, but it's way more sturdier and way more crispier. And then we have Petit Noir with Blame Fire, and it is a very blissful and colorful and really well textured electronic jam, and it's just really fiery and really fun. And this one is also a shocker, and that is the new Pond track, Burnt Out Star. And it's 8 minutes long, I believe, and it's this very colorful and odd, multifaceted track that has a lot of different passages and transitions and different chord progressions. And it's very cutting edge, and it's something that I did not expect out of Pond's music. Other than that, we have Ryan Hemsworth with Think About You featuring Joji. Joji still has this very sleepy, sort of dreamy vocals, but the song itself is very beautiful. Very soothing as well. Up next we have Spiritualized with Here It Comes, The Road, Let's Go. And this track is very mellow, very soothing once again, and it's one of the more spacier and more atmospheric tracks from Spiritualized, and it also sounds very interesting as well. And then up next we have Sumac with Addis's Blade, which is a very long-winded monster, 15 minutes long, oh my gosh. And it's again multifaceted. It has a lot of different passages to it, and it's there are parts where it gets really exciting and very adrenaline pumping, and there are parts when it gets where it gets more strange and odd and intriguing. Anyway, we have Tim Heckers with This Life, which is yet another electronic track, but it's more ambient techno than electronic. It's a really odd and really haunting, real echoey, really ghostly even, and it's one of the weirder Tim Hecker tracks. And this aesthetic is just really impressive and really well mixed. And to end off, surprisingly, I enjoy this 21 Pilots track, Levitate. And I don't know, like previously, 21 Pilots sounds cringy and corny as hell, but this single is exceptional. The instrumentals are very blissful and very colorful, and the rap performance is very excellent in my opinion. The flow is very tight, and the performance overall is very fun, and yet it has this edgy flair to it that really adds a lot of personality to the track. So I'm actually really looking forward to their new album. Oh my gosh. And that's all I'm gonna say for this thing's video.